Hi, I'm Lexi, and you're listening to Luck It with Lexi. My podcast focuses on people who are working extremely hard and doing extraordinary things. Today's guest is Sawyer McNamara. Sawyer is a 2018 graduate of Alpena High School, 2019 early college grad, who went to receive an associate's degree in business management from Alpena Community College, a bachelor's degree of fine arts from Western Michigan, as well as a certificate of dance studio management. Currently, Sawyer resides in Chicago, Illinois, where she is a member of the Trifecta Dance Collective and a guest artist for a Rooted Space company. Sawyer also continues to choreograph for various dance studios, including the Dance Center in Alpena. I'm so happy you're here. This podcast is really special for me because growing up, Sawyer was one of my idols in dance since I was probably like 5 or 6. So I'm really happy to have you here. So let's get started. How old were you when you started dancing?
I started dancing when I was 4 years old at the Dance Center in Alpena.
When did you start dancing competitively?
I was, I think, around 7 or 8.
When did you know that that's what you wanted to do when you grew up?
I feel like I've always been interested in dance as a career, and I think it took me longer to figure out kind of what that meant. I think growing up, I watched Christine Giordano run the Dance Center, and I remember thinking that was just like the coolest thing ever, to be able to just share your passions all day long with younger generations of dancers. And so I think that's what initially got me interested, and it's kind of snowballed since then.
So dance has taken you on many different adventures and giving you many opportunities. So let's talk about some of those things. Your degree is from Western Michigan University, and I know you were looking at several different colleges. What made you choose Western?
Yeah, at the time I auditioned for Wayne State University and Western Michigan University, and I had gotten the idea of going to college at both of those schools from Lisa Lamar Wilmot, who's another one of my huge mentors. She graduated from Western and now teaches at Wayne. And so I was like, okay, I can't lose with either of these choices. And I feel like it just kind of came down to when I showed up at Western, it just kind of felt right. Meeting all of the teachers and seeing the faculty do their work and share their stories was really inspiring to me. And I think it was, once I had gotten accepted, it was an easier choice just because I had been there already and seen how it worked. So, yeah.
What are some experiences you got from Western?
So many. I feel like slightly biased, but I had such a great time learning from, all of the faculty there. And my peers were all really great. I got the opportunity to take courses in things that I didn't even know that you could really take courses in. I was taking choreography classes and learning how to teach dancers, ballet, modern jazz, taking all of those classes as a student. And like that was my schoolwork. That was the first time that dance had become my school, and those two came together. And so my experience as a dance major was just so great. I can't even say enough things about it. Just performing, teaching opportunities, being a part of clubs, meeting some of my greatest friends that I have now. I just feel so lucky.
What dance training did you have to do there?
So my Western has a tri-focus program, and so we had equal parts ballet, jazz, and modern for our techniques that we had to take. And then in addition to that, it was choreography classes, learning how to teach dance, so kind of how to work with children, things like that. I had different projects to do as far as requirements for my BFA. And so one of my assignments was to create a solo for myself and perform it in front of all my faculty my junior year. And my senior year was kind of a similar thing, but then it turned into a group dance. And so I got to choreograph for a larger group and learn how to light those things. Lighting and staging was another huge part of my training. So learning what lights look good on people, how to make formations work on a stage, things like that. And so that was kind of all roped into my capstone project for my BFA. So lots of experiences all over the place. I feel like the course load of classes is very different from your traditional sit down, take notes type of thing. It was a lot of hands-on experiences, but yeah, lots of things that I didn't even know were a part of the curriculum when I first signed up. So I feel really lucky for that.
That sounds so fun. What performances did you?
Another huge part of being a dance major in college. And so you have student performances, which are driven by the students. So the students decide to choreograph, they hold an audition, and you can audition for those, be a part of them. As far as those performances have gone, I've choreographed for them, I've been in them. That was a really fun part. That was like the first show of the year. And then moving on from that, you have, we call it Winter Gala at Western, but it's kind of our faculty show. And we also invite remarkable guest choreographers from the dance community to come in and set works. And so that is one of our bigger performances of the year. And then from there, we also have, they're called junior juries, but you create that solo that I was talking about. And that is kind of what gets you into the BFA program at Western. And so, yes, you create a solo. I think mine was 7 minutes long, a 7-minute long solo. And yeah, you costume it, you light it, you edit the music, all of the above. And then they kind of see if you're ready to be a BFA. And then graduating presentations are the other performance that we kind of do at Western. And so that is your final thing you do as a BFA dance major. And so as you embark on that project, you're casting dancers, you are creating the music, you are creating the lighting, and the choreography on top of all of that. And so I've gotten the opportunity to make one of those and also be in some of my great friends' graduating presentations. So yeah, we have, those are like the 4 main performances. And then I also was able to be a part of, it's called Western Dance Project, but it's the touring ensemble for the dance program. And so I did it my senior year, and that is basically a program that gives you company experience as a student. And so you're able to be your class is a rehearsal space. And so you have rehearsal like twice a week. And then in addition to that, you're touring and going to different elementary schools and performing at their assemblies and all of the above. And we were also able to go to Detroit Dance City Festival and perform. So that was really cool. And then we also have our own show for that. So that's another performance at the end of the year. But that was so cool because you're working kind of as a company. So I think there was 10 or 12 of us that were in this company experience, and then performing all while taking your classes throughout the day. So
Did you have to travel for performances?
we did travel. I went to Detroit Dance City Festival. That was my senior year. That was really cool. And that was kind of like we just performed one of the dances we had been working on throughout the year. And then I also was able to go to, it's called ACDA, but it's kind of like a conference experience. And so I went to Ohio and we performed one of the dances that we had learned for that. And then from ACDA, the dance that I had performed had gotten selected to go to their national conference for the year. And so we were able to travel. We went to California, Long Beach, California, and performed there, which was so exciting. Yeah, that was one of the highlights for sure. It was a really great time.
What was your favorite performance you ever did at Western?
Oh my goodness. So many great performances. That's such a hard question. I feel like one of my favorites, I'll say, was my senior year. I was casted to be in a dance created by Kimberly Cooper from Decidedly Jazz Dance Works. And she came in and she set this work. It was titled Family of Jazz, but it was a 22-minute long jazz dance with so many parts. And in addition to it being 22 minutes long, we also got to dance on stage with a live band. So a live jazz band, singer, all of the above. And so that experience was really cool because it was different every single time. And so in that piece, there's so many moving parts, but I also had a duet with one of my really great friends. And so it's just such a special thing to be a part of. Yeah, that was the one that we got to go to California with as well. So that was such a highlight for sure.
So I saw you were president of the Movement Exchange while at Western. What is that, and are you still involved?
Totally, yeah. Movement Exchange is so fun. It is a nonprofit organization that combines dance and service together. And I was able to be the president of that for 2 years, and now I work for them as a professional. And so Movement Exchange kind of focuses on bringing dance to communities that maybe can't afford or aren't don't have the accessibility to have traditional dance classes. And so we provide free dance education for kind of underserved communities. And so a lot of my experience with that is going into preschools, childcare centers, orphanages, and teaching dance classes for free, kind of more movement classes, so more locomotion based. And then with that, we also travel to Panama once a year. Well, try to once a year to do an outreach program. And so I got to go on that. I think it was 2022, I think. And we went to Panama and we got to kind of share dance with the community over there for a week. And that was like the coolest thing because movement exchange also emphasizes that dance can be used as a language. And so, although there was kind of a language barrier for me as I traveled to Panama, it was like so cool to communicate with all of these children that like maybe didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish, but we were able to communicate in this way. And I was able to teach a dance class without using any words. And so that is like such a special moment in kind of my journey with movement exchange. And I feel so lucky to be able to kind of continue to help out. But yeah, movement exchange exists through college chapters. And so as a student, you're able to be involved in it, and then you can expand your experience with it and go on an exchange and do really, really amazing work. Movement exchange does such amazing work.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of supplemental educations like intensives and conferences. For our listeners, explain what an intensive and a conference is.
Yeah, so dance intensive is usually a shorter experience. So it can be a couple days, it can be one day, it can be 2 weeks, it could be, it's like a shorter-ish experience. And basically for an intensive, in my experience, you're dancing all day long. It's like a 10 to 4 or a 9 to 5 situation. And then it can end in a performance for your families to come and watch. But basically your day is just jam-packed full of dancing and learning from amazing mentors in such a short period of time. And so I've done a few intensives. I've done one in Los Angeles for Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company. That one was 2 weeks long, and that was so, so cool. It was just a day full of learning different styles of movement, hip hop, ballet, contemporary. And then at the end, there was a performance where we just kind of showed what we learned and celebrated our week that we spent together. And then I've done one, it's called Sancta for Symbiosis Arts in Chicago. That one was 4 days, and it was a improvisation-based intensive. And so it was so cool. I've never looked at performance in the way that I did that week. It was a totally improvisation-based performance. And so it was kind of learning all of these different tools throughout the week. And then the performance was based off of decisions made by other dancers. So I remember one part of the show was the dancer chose to end a duet by either hugging her partner or I think the other one was like turning away. So either hugging or turning away. And then in that moment, Game Time Decision determined the song that was going to play next. So like it was a performance full of unknowns. So like I didn't know what song was going to play, but I did know the choreography and I did know the counts. So I was able to like in the moment figure out kind of how that all was going to work. But it was just such a cool way to look at performance and know that like performance can ebb and flow and it doesn't need to be this set thing all the time. So that was such a cool intensive. I have done other ones, but I feel like those two are like the most recent ones that I've done. Yeah, intensives are so cool. You meet so many cool people and you have so many connections. The dance world is so big, but it's so small. And so like I've been able to see these people that I spent so much time with and see them for a week, and then I'll see them again in an audition at like a year later. It's like we're besties. It's so great. So those are intensives. And then conferences, the conference that I was able to go to was ACDA. And so that is anchored towards college students. So you have to be a college student to be able to attend ACDA, I believe. And with conferences, it's kind of similar to an intensive in the way that you're able to take classes from amazing choreographers, dance artists, people in the industry, and then also go to seminars so you can hear about people's experience with choreography, or if somebody's sharing inspiring advice. So there's also kind of those more traditional sit down, take notes classes at a conference. And then also you're able to perform. So when I went to ACDA, we were able to perform Family of Jazz by Kimberly Cooper from Decidedly Jazz Dance Works. And we were able to show this dance. And then at the end of the weekend, they chose dancers for the national conference. And so I was able to go to the East Central Conference, and then we were selected to then go to California after that. And so it's just a really great way to share dance. I think moral of the story as far as intensives and conferences is just it's such a rich environment to share. And I feel like there's really nothing like it. Like you just get to see so many people, and yeah, it's just so cool. There's so much to learn at those kind of environments. So,
which was your favorite to go to?
Oh my goodness. All great. All great. I feel like I've had an individual experience to every single one of them. I think Sancta from Symbiosis Arts was one of the most influential ones just because it totally changed my perspective on performance. But I would say they're all just so individual and so different and so valuable.
At this point, you've been a part of several dance companies. And for the people not in the dance world, what is a dance company?
Dance companies are opportunities for dancers to make dance their career. And so it's kind of a way. So once you become an artist with a dance company, then that's your job and you get paid to be a performer. And so like that's your office, your 9 to 5. That's you go to rehearsal and then you have your performance, and it's a way to kind of make income off of your art, which is cool. Yeah.
What are some of the companies you've danced at and places you've traveled?
Okay, so once I graduated college, I was able to be an apprentice for Contexture Dance Detroit. And so I spent the summer with them for their 10th season. And so that was such a cool opportunity. That was the first thing I had done as a dance professional, and such a great company to be with. Yeah, I had never lived or been consistently in Detroit for that period of time. And so it was so nice to kind of see the community, meet such fantastic people, and gain my first experience. And then once I finished my summer in Detroit, I moved to Chicago and I became a guest artist with Alluvian Dance Chicago. And that was the second company that I was able to be a part of. Again, another great organization, so many great people. And then after that, I became a guest artist with Trifecta Dance Collective, and I'm now a main company member with them for my second season, which is super exciting. And then I'm also currently a guest artist with the Rooted Space, and I'm coming up. I just finished my first year with them, and so yeah, currently I'm with Trifecta Dance Collective and the Rooted Space, and both of them are such great organizations to be a part of. And I have such great mentorship and such great community members to surround myself with. And so I feel really lucky to have found a home in both of those organizations, being so far away from Michigan. So, yeah.
What are performances like there?
Performances are so fun. Every single one of them is so different, I feel. A lot of times you have a smaller stage without wings or without a raised surface. And so a lot of my performances end up taking place in kind of smaller venues, 100-ish people. But then I've also had performances where it's in a more traditional auditorium. Everyone kind of varies. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my performances have been smaller in the way that the stage is a little bit smaller. But yeah, every single one is unique, I would say.
Were they all like the same style of dance or all different?
Yeah, most of my experience post-graduation has been in contemporary dance. I feel like my most unique experience is with the Rooted Space. We were able to do this show that kind of combined contemporary dance with a more theatrical style. And our choreographer, Stephanie Cotton, has just such a genius brain when it comes to choreography. And so for this show, we were able to interact with the audience. And I did a whole piece where I got to blow bubble gum while I danced, which was a learning curve in itself. But it was so cool. It's so cool to see the way that she looks at choreography, and that has been such a fun experience to learn from her and see how she approaches dance, for sure.
What's one of your favorite performances you've done?
Oh my goodness, favorite performances. I'm going to say I feel like that's a good one. You tricked me on this one. One of my greatest friends from college and I created a duet together, and it's titled Ascendancy, and it holds such a special place in my heart. We created it my senior year of college, and we've gotten to perform it in multiple places. We performed it in St. Louis, we performed it in Chicago, in Michigan, in Kalamazoo, at school. And so that has just been such a special process to take this piece and perform it in so many different venues. And yeah, I just feel like that has been such a fun thing to do. So I'm going to say that's one of my favorite things to perform, but it's a hard question. There's a lot of good ones, I feel like.
When you're in a company, do you have the chance to choreograph for them or with them?
Yeah, when it comes to choreographing for companies, every company is kind of different. So my biggest experience with choreographing on fellow company members is through Trifecta Dance Collective. With Trifecta, we kind of switch off roles. So sometimes you're a dancer, sometimes you're a choreographer. And so in the fall, I was able to choreograph a group piece for our fall show. And that has 5 dancers in it. And we're performing it again this spring, which I'm super, super excited about. And so it's a really cool thing to kind of see your peers and then be able to set a piece on them after knowing them as a dancer. Now you're kind of in this new role of being a choreographer with your dance friends. And so that's been really fun. Yeah, not every company is that way, but I feel lucky to have the opportunity to continue to choreograph concert works with my cool friends, my cool dance friends. Yeah.
To continue with that, you continue to choreograph for various dance studios in addition to dancing for companies. How was the transition from dancer to teacher?
Feel like the transition is really tricky sometimes. I feel like I catch myself sometimes wanting to be in the dancer role, but then I'm like, wait, I'm the teacher. Yeah, I feel like it was trickier for me when I was still closer to the age of the dancers that I was starting to teach. And now that I've kind of gotten a little bit older, it starts to get a little easier. But I feel like it's a tricky thing because it takes experience too. I felt like I had all of the book smarts when it came to teaching, but then you get in the room and it doesn't go as planned. And so it definitely takes experience too. And so I feel like I'm learning things every single day, every time I step into the room. And yeah, it's like nothing that you can be taught. You really have to just kind of put yourself into it and handle things as it comes. But it's been such a fun transition to become a teacher. I feel like that was my first thing in the dance world that I wanted to do, was be a teacher. And so it's been really fun to kind of continue to gain experience and yeah, see what it's like to be in the authoritative position, for sure.
How many studios have you choreographed for?
Studios. I think I'm about around 10, I would say. Yeah, I teach at 4 different studios right now, and that involves choreographing for the recitals. And I've also done group pieces for studios, and I've also done kind of like the solo competition route as well. So I've gotten to work with some really, really talented young dancers, and I feel really lucky to be in that role. I feel like I step into the room and sometimes have to pinch myself a little bit because it doesn't really feel, yeah, it's just crazy to call that my job, like working with cool young dancers. Yeah.
So you've choreographed a few dances for our competition groups. Do you plan on continuing to do that?
Oh my goodness, totally. Yeah, I feel so lucky to be able to teach and choreograph for the Dance Center dancers. That is always going to be one of my biggest accomplishments and one of the things that I'm most proud of. It's just so cool to be able to see dancers growing up the way that I grew up and be able to have an impact on them. Yeah, I feel so lucky. I'll never stop. Oh my goodness.
Do you have any future goals from here, like 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years. Yes, totally. Yeah, I feel like I have a ton of things that are just a bunch of small things that add up to big things, hopefully. Right now, I'm feeling very happy to be gaining experience as a dancer, as a teacher, and as a choreographer. I'm also working on my Pilates certification, so entering into the fitness realm a little bit, helping to educate dancers on fitness and things like that. And my original goal going into the dance world was to own my own studio, and that's still one of my biggest goals. I would love to be my own boss and run a studio in that way. And I feel like right now I'm working towards gaining experience to be the best mentor to my students. And so I feel like I'm working towards gaining as much knowledge as I can and picking up little things on the way. Yeah, that's kind of where I see it right now. Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of little things.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
You've obviously worked super hard to get where you are at. Is there somebody who inspired you to do dance?
Yeah, I feel like my mother, she's so great. She signed me up for dance when I was young. And I feel like my mentorship within the dance realm came as I started to gain more experience. Christine Giordano was one of my biggest mentors, inspiration. Lisa Lamar Wilmot. Carly Giordano played a huge role when I was kind of transitioning into high school. She was a choreographer of mine and such a great mentor. And Kaylee Darga Mason was another teacher that I had. And so I feel like all of my teachers that I had growing up around the dance center really kind of inspired me and gave me the initial knowledge I needed to kind of keep going and keep being curious about what dance means as a career and how to make it all fit, for sure.
Is there anyone who inspired you to work hard?
I feel like I have so many great mentors around me. I feel like my family, for sure. I see all of them working super hard. And so I think I found my own outlet in order to kind of keep that same work ethic, but make it my own, for sure.
What advice would you give someone who wants to go to school for dance or become a professional dancer?
I feel like my greatest piece of advice that I can give is to keep working really hard if it's something that you really want. I feel like with dance, there are days that are really hard. And there are moments that are really hard. There's an audition that doesn't go well, or a class that doesn't go well, or you think that you need to be somewhere where you aren't quite yet. And I feel like that can be really discouraging, but it also can be really motivating and really rewarding to see the little days of showing up kind of start to add up to something big. And so I feel like sticking to it even when it's tricky, for sure.
Awesome. Now we're going to go into some fun questions.
Fun questions.
What's your favorite type of dance to perform?
Favorite type of dance to perform? I love contemporary. I feel like contemporary is so fun because you can layer all of these different qualities onto it. So you can have kind of sharp, smooth, soft, hard hitting, all of the above kind of mixed into one. And so I feel like I really love contemporary for that reason, but I'm going to say jazz because jazz is just so fun. I've had such great mentors when it comes to jazz. Monique Haley was one of my teachers, mentors in college, and she totally transformed the way that I see jazz dance. And so it's just such a communal thing and such an expressive thing to be able to be a jazz dancer. And so I'm going to say jazz for sure.
What's your favorite type of dance to choreograph?
Oh, contemporary for sure. I love to choreograph contemporary. I feel like every time that you step into choreographing a contemporary dance, it can be something totally different. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's just such a range that you can have. I feel like one end of the spectrum is the soft movement. And then, yeah, you can have a totally different song, totally different energy for the same contemporary realm of dance. So there's just such versatility in it, and I think it's so exciting to explore.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Oh, restaurants. That's another good question. In Alpena, I'm going to say Red Brick. I do love Red Brick. It's so good. You can't really go wrong. I'm going to say Red Brick.
What's your favorite type of music?
I'm a country music gal. I think I have yet to choreograph to country music. And so maybe that allows me to like turn my brain off a little bit and not think about movement. So I'm going to say country. I feel like country is just a good summer vibes. Yeah. Love country music.
What do you miss most about Alpena?
The people, for sure. I think it's so hard to be away. It is so hard to like go out and try something new and be somewhere different and know that a lot of your people are like a phone call away. But I think, yeah, that is the thing that I miss the most. But I think it's important to go out and see different things too. And so it's a thing that I miss for sure. But I also know that they are only a phone call away. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Sawyer. I'm so happy I got to talk with you today. And if you know someone in your community who's working really hard, DM us at L.U.K. Unlimited Apparel on Instagram. Thank you for listening to Luck It with Lexi.